Namo Bhagavate Shri Aravinda.
So welcome everyone and thank you for joining. So we'll start. I think we were on page 18. We have to pick up the threads from page 18. So we have today with us Arpit joining from Australia. Welcome Arpit to think the group, and let us hope that we have a good reflection today. Yes. So inner transformation and physical resistance, page number 17. We had started with this, and we have to today take up page number 18 on one side, the action of forces. So I think it would be nice if anyone can maybe go through the whole bit just to have an overlap. So starting from the top, page 17, and then we take up the paragraph that we have to take today on one side. Yeah. Would anyone want to read?
Okay, I can read.
Of course. Yeah, please
Go ahead.
Okay,
do I go from the
Yeah, you can start
top?
from the mother. Yes.
Okay. Inner transformation and the physical resistance. The mother, the force that comes down into one who is doing yoga and helps him in his transformation, acts along many different lines, and its results vary according to the nature that receives it and the work to be done. First of all, it hastens the transformation of all in the being that is ready to be transformed. If he is open and receptive in his mind, the mind touched by the power of yoga begins to change and progress swiftly. There may be the same rapidity of change in the vital consciousness if that is ready, or even in the body. But in the body, the transforming power of yoga is operative only to a certain degree, for the receptivity is limited. The most material plane of the universe is still in a condition in which receptivity is mixed with a large amount of resistance, but rapid progress in one part of the being, which is not followed by an equivalent process and progress in other parts, which produces a disharmony in the nature, a dislocation somewhere, and wherever or whenever this dislocation occurs, it can translate itself into an illness. The nature of the illness depends upon the nature of the dislocation. One kind of disharmony affects the mind, and the disturbance it produces may lead even as far as insanity. Another kind affects the body and may show itself as fever or prickly heat or any other greater or minor disorder. On the side of action of the forces of yoga hastens the movement of on one side, the action of the forces of yoga hastens the movement of transformation of the being in those parts that are ready to receive and respond to the power that is at work upon it. Yoga in this way saves time. The whole world is in a process of progressive transformation. If you take up the discipline of yoga, you speed up in yourself this process. The work that would require years of ordinary course can be done by yoga in a few days or even in a few hours, but it is in your inner consciousness that it is your inner consciousness that obeys this accelerating impulse. For the higher parts of your being readily follow the swift and concentrated movement of yoga and lend themselves more easily to the continuous adjustment and adaptation that it necessitates. The body, on the other hand, is ordinarily dense and inert and apathetic. And if you have in this part something that is not responsive, if there is a resistance here, the reason is that the body is incapable of moving as quickly as the rest of the being. It must take time. It must walk at its own pace as it does in ordinary life. What happens is when grown-up people walk too fast, as when grown-up people walk too fast for children in their company, they have to stop at times and wait till the child who is lagging behind comes up and overtakes them. This divergence between the progress in the inner being and the inertia of the body often creates a dislocation in the system, and that manifests itself as an illness. This is why people who take up yoga frequently begin by suffering from some physical discomfort or disorder. That need not happen if they are on their guard and careful. If if there is a greater or if there is a greater and unusual receptivity in the body, then too they escape. But an unmixed receptivity, making the physical parts closely follow the pace of the inner transformation, is hardly possible unless the body has already been prepared in the past for the processes of yoga.
Thank you, Arpit. Yeah, so anyone, if there are reflections to be shared. So there is a song actually I'm reminded of. Um, Kabir, one of Kabir's bhajans, Saint Kabir's bhajan, where he says, "Zara halke gaadi haako, O Ram gaadi wale." So he's like requesting the Lord to pull the cart, really take the cart forward slowly. And he says that please do it very gently because I'm not able to keep pace with it. So I think this thing reminds me of that song. There may be a connection there, that different parts of the body take their own time, and uh, they may not be able to keep up pace with the progress from the inner being. So one has to slow down. Just like the example here Sri Aurobindo is sharing. Um, I think it's mothers, yes. What happens is when grown up people walk too fast, so it's like there is a family going, little children are there and adults are there. And the adults, of course, they usually can walk fast. And but the little kids, they tumble, fall down, and then they have to keep the pace. Even when they, want to walk fast, they can't keep up the pace with the long steps of uh, the adults. So the adults have to stop for a while, they take a pause, and then they let the children to catch up, then they walk again. So that is how this process, mother shares, has to be, that otherwise it creates a dislocation. So one has to be really gentle, and uh, otherwise this dislocation manifests as illness. The inner being is ready, the mental and vital are ready, but maybe the body needs time because the body is more inert and like more full of resistance. It has its own habits, so it takes time. Otherwise there can be a crash, like you are incapacitated for some time if the pace is too fast. Yeah, so that's why mother is sharing that this is why people who take up yoga frequently begin by suffering from some physical discomfort or disorder. Mm. But mother says that need not happen if they are on their guard and careful. Usually, in our ignorance, we begin from having a dislocation. But if we are careful, we know that okay, this can happen, one has to be careful, then it doesn't need to happen. Yeah. Yeah, anything here? Anyone? And also mother shares towards the end that it's very difficult to have that all the parts, the mental, the vital, the body, the emotions, the thoughts, all of them are so prepared that they are ready to walk together, like there is no dislocation anywhere. So she says that may be possible, that unmixed receptivity, making the physical parts closely follow the pace of inner transformation, that is also possible, but it's very hard, it's rare, unless the body has already been prepared in the past for the process of yoga. And which again, is a matter of, like, it's a rare phenomena that so much of preparation is there. And to Jyoti Priya, Judith Tyberg, who opened this center in LA, I guess, in US, mother shared that you were so eager to come back to the earth for divine work that you did not take time for proper preparation of physical being, because she suffered from many pains. And although the inner being is very eager, enthusiastic to do divine work, but the body is not able to keep pace. So many intricacies are there. Yeah. Anything here? Anyone in this one? Before we'll go back to the first paragraph also.
Yeah,
I don't know.
sorry.
Go ahead, Taru.
Go ahead, Swapna. Taru will go.
Okay.
Yeah, please.
I was just considering how it seems also that sometimes, like, the mental level can be ready or wanting a change. For example, I have an intention or a wish to really change an aspect of myself, or how I react to a certain person or in a certain situation. And the vital can be the one that's holding back, with its fears. And then, yeah, I don't know, maybe this is just about how the physical doesn't keep up. But I was just noticing that it appears that can happen so easily too in myself.
Absolutely. Here the stress is on physical resisting, because the topic is about the physical resistance. So you are absolutely, mother has shared at many places, Sri Aurobindo mother, that if the vital is ready, the mental resists, the mental is ready, so vital resists. So of course, totally with you. Yeah. But here specifically, mother is talking about the physical not keeping up the pace, because this answer is about the physical resistance of the body. Yeah. Yes, Taru, you want to go next?
Yeah, just a very small comment. While growing up, I was told that my eldest sister, when people would be walking, she would be so angry that why am I being made to walk when she was like 2.5, 3, that in addition to stopping, she would start walking backwards. So that now you are punished for making her walk. So, when you were sharing and, when we were reading even last time too, that just came to me that how that too is symbolic, right? At times we even have to go back, right? Or we see ourselves going back, even if we don't want to just coax us or convince us that, oh, come on, let's move from here. Okay, you're again doing this, I'm again doing this, but I can go forward, I can go forward. So one thing is just stopping, and yet we do see that we keep going back as well till we are ready to go forward. So just a small sharing. Thank you.
Yeah, beautiful. Yes.
Yeah, even I agree, because sometimes what happens is, this is what your soul wants and it resonates so beautifully, but your vital, your physical, it's not ready. And sometimes the soul like takes over and like nahi karna hai, this only is what I want to do whole day. But uh, I have also felt that you know being more compassionate to myself helps, because sometimes समझ ही नहीं आता, you feel very, dissolution कि neither here nor there, कहीं क्या हो रहा है, कुछ पकड़ में नहीं आ रहा है, so I have gone through that, and I have tried to push myself because I feel very inspired and aspired, and yet these days what comes to me very naturally is like, be compassionate to your own self, and take it at a slower pace. That's my inner voice telling me that go slow. So yeah, this is what right now I am feeling.
Yeah, beautiful. Yes. Yes.
Yeah, well, once when I did that Sudarshan Kriya, okay, where we do with that, what do you call, Soham with frequency modulation and all that. So that day I had some feverish, I felt feverish and I had pain in my knees. So there I find it quite relatable.
Yeah. Yeah. True that. Yes.
Yes, I also was speaking about the illness that I
Claudia,
have.
you're not that audible. Can you bring your mic forward in front of your mouth? Yeah, now
Now,
it's good. Now it's good. Yes.
so I was speaking about the illness that that this body have, and yeah, it's sometimes it's like it's full of stop. It's like you cannot do anything, because when it's coming an attack, an epilepsy attack, it's like the mind go blind. It's like doesn't want anymore to anything. And the body just shake and say just whatever, just go away, just don't, not more. It's like telling, why you go so fast. And it's funny because I don't like comfort. Well, in my soul, I always give away my things. I always travel, go away from things. And then my body is like telling me, no, you need comfort and you need to stay, and you and I'm like, no. But I need to work with that, and this is a play, but I reject it. And it's so funny. It's just like, oh my God, I mean, what I can do. It's like, oh. So just
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So I think we see with all these examples that the task in integral yoga specifically, because here we are talking not only of the transformation of thoughts and feelings, but also the transformation of body. And we see that it's really, really a long process. And as you were sharing, a couple of you were sharing that it's a process of going forward, then going back, then going forward, then going back. And Sri Aurobindo has also shared this example of, as if, imagine a king is like progressing, like how they capture villages after villages, and they are covering more and more areas. So an army of that king, he covers one village, but in the meantime that he has made his rule on this village, uh, the other village which he had already covered, like conquered, that becomes a rebel. So he has to go back and settle down that village again, and then go back. And so this coming and going, and this is a long process for each one of us. And mother says that it is good, this process is a good process, because here we have stability in the conversion. If there is any transformation, then it's a stable transformation, because if you just conquered one and then moved ahead, and then you never have to come back, you can be sure that that part will again revolt, because there is no stability. So mother talks, I think that day we were taking up this prayer in, I don't know which session we took this prayer, November 28, where she is sharing that striking conversions are never real, they are never solid. And she says, even for the best of us, the process has to be long and slow. So I think we can really relax, knowing, putting our efforts, knowing wherever the efforts is necessary, we put the efforts. But if we have to come back 10,000 times, we must not be afraid of coming back 10,000 times. And this Mother and Sri Aurobindo both have addressed at many locations, that one must really be ready tirelessly to dust off pants, fall, get up, dust off pants, fall, get up. This has to be done tirelessly. And that's why the when we think of a relation with the mother, whether of a friend, of a master, the best relation is of a child, because the child is tirelessly falling down, crawling, getting up, falling down. He's not ashamed, he's not guilty. So like that we have to go on. So absolutely in resonance with what all was shared, that this is the process, and we can be really grateful that within this lifetime, at least there is an embarking upon this process. Yes, Shweta. Yeah.
Yeah, so also with the example today, na, that beautiful example of a grown up, slowing its pace for the child to catch up, and, like calibrating again and again, like, with the child. I think that is what I think I'm feeling, because earlier this compassion was not there. And according to me, this very strong compassion, I feel it could be that psychic being, because by nature of psychic being, it would give that permission ki, theek hai, like it feels very benevolent ki, it's okay, like go back, gather, like and there is no insecurity also, because that this is the way that like certitude is there. And yet there is this strong feeling of like going at a slower pace, which to me as of now feels like it is still the psychic being at the forefront guiding. So
Yeah, yes. So I'm going to read a little bit from this very beautiful book. It's a very like a thin compilation. It's called Commentaries on Elements of Yoga. I'm sure this must all be available on Incarnate Word also. So just because what we were sharing was in resonance, and what Swapna just shared earlier also was in resonance. So this is about on transformation. There is a compilation on transformation, and Mother is sharing the mind clinging to its own ideas. See how many times I have told this. So Mother is commenting on what Sri Aurobindo has said, and let me just state 3 lines what Sri Aurobindo has said, on which Mother is commenting. Sri Aurobindo wrote that one of the 3 fundamental obstacles which stand in the way of transformation is egoism. And then he elaborates egoism. He says, the mind clinging to its own ideas, the vital preferring its own desires to a true surrender. So instead of a true surrender, what do I prefer? That my desires, my way should be followed. So the vital preferring its own desires to a true surrender, and the physical, which we were at, the physical adhering to its own habits. So these are the 3 chief obstacles on the path of transformation, and these are all labeled under egoism. Mental egoism, vital egoism, and the physical egoism. And I think it's like a note one can put on the wall just to remind ourselves. And then Mother is talking something really beautiful about physical habits, since we were on the physical transformation thing. So Mother says that many times we are just stuck in our old physical habits. So she says, what are the habits of physical which we must throw off? It is this terrible, frightful preference for the food you were used to when you were very young. I think all of us can relate with this. The food you ate in the country where you were born, and about which you feel when you no longer get it, that you have not anything at all to eat, that you are miserable. So if I'm not getting Golgappa or Chola Bhatura or whatever in India, we are used to, one becomes miserable and one craves for that. So Mother says that I believe there would not be a dozen people here in the ashram who have come here to the ashram and eaten the food of ashram without saying, oh, I am not used to this food, it is very difficult. And how many hundreds of people who prepare still their own food because they can't eat the food of ashram. So Mother is talking about these physical grooves in which we are set, physical tamas of this like patterns of eating, which we are not able to change. And then she says that when you say that this is my health, I can't digest well, Mother says that there is not a word of truth in it. It is a perpetual lie in which everybody lives. And indeed, I may tell you what I think. You have not advanced any further than the mass of human beings. So, if we are stuck in these physical habits. And then, just the last bit, it's a bit funny also. So, Mother says that, well, I indeed can give a remedy for that. You take a boat, take a train, and go around the whole world, several times. Then you are obliged to eat in each country the food of that country. And after you have done this several times, so even one round around the world is not enough. Mother says that after you have gone around the world, eaten in every country several times, then you will understand your stupidity. It is a stupidity, a frightful tamas. One is tied up like this to gastric habits. And then she says, now I have said what was on my mind, you may ask questions. So I found it really very funny. Yeah. And also about the first part that I was sharing, but I switched to the physical, the body part. So Mother talks about mind clinging to its own ideas. And then she says, vital preferring its own desires. And then mind becomes the accomplice of vital. This also we have studied many times, if you remember, that one gives favorable reasons for emotional weaknesses. So whatever is my desire, whatever is my attachment, mind, reason also is puppeted around by the vital force. So mind becomes the accomplice of the vital and gives admirable explanations for keeping the desires by reasoning, by explaining, by giving justifications also. And all these things are very useful to it. I have heard people say that the best way to get rid of desires is to satisfy them. They make a theory of it. You continue to satisfy your desires, and then naturally you have other desires. Well, one desire replaces another very easily, and you continue to satisfy the new ones under the idea that you are going to get cured. That will take you at least 100 lives. So I found this really very profound today. Yeah, any thoughts, any reflections?
So, rejection and surrender, ये ये भी तो by itself back and forth ही है ना? मतलब, yeah, so it has to be at a slow pace only, na, Monica, because you can't surrender because you find that again, like you going back to what you rejected, then you're moving forward. So complete surrender, though it's your intention and you aspire for that, and I feel that complete surrender वो slow pace पे ही होगा, because when you are like forcing yourself, uh, it just feels not right. And yet there is this like direction you have, the like, but the pace, feeling confused. The pace would be individual, right?
Yeah, of course, the pace would be individual. And I think we don't have to bother about complete surrender really at this moment of time. The only thing we have to care for is just moment by moment, really moment by moment. For the moment, we can really forget about complete surrender. Really, don't bother yourself with that. And even if there is what you were talking, that even if there is an intention in me that one day there would be complete surrender in me, I think that intention by itself, what it does is, I will share, what I think about it. What it does is that even if you are not able to, because of subconscious patterns and ego patterns, you are not able to actively follow surrender in each moment, and we have to go each moment Really, not bothering about the ocean, just bothering about the drop today, one moment at a time. That is enough. And there you see that if once you have thought in your life, really in a purified way, with sincerity, that one day I will have true surrender in my life, I think you would not even have to bother, and life situations will happen in such way that you would have no other option left but to have a complete surrender. Because as Sri Aurobindo shares that the divine is a jealous, possessive lover. And what does a jealous, possessive lover do? I think we all know. He would not allow the beloved to be with anyone but himself. So even if for once we have really truly thought of true surrender, we don't even have to worry. The life situations happen in such a way that you are really rid of all bondages and you have nothing but the possibility of a true surrender to the divine. So really, I think relax and don't worry about absolute surrender. Just go moment by moment with as much purity, as much sincerity one can. Why? Because it gives joy. Sincerity gives joy. Purifying oneself gives joy. And if moment by moment I can follow it, even when I slip, doesn't matter, I get up again, and notice the slippage. I think that much is really more than enough currently, really more than enough. So yeah, that's what, take it in a very relaxed way. Relax is very important.
Yeah.
Hey, so I just wanted to talk about this. So first of all, the first point that I want to talk about is the transformation, inner transformation. And I would like to read something that the mother has written in volume 12 on education, and it's titled Transformation. So I'll just read that, because I think what I'm trying to point out is, what is transformation? Like, what is this inner transformation? Before talking about, physical transformation or physical resistance, this inner transformation itself is like a major point, like a marker in your process. So I would just like to read something from the mother, and what she says is this change. Okay, but if in addition to the aspiration, there is an inner opening, a kind of receptivity, then one can enter into this transformed consciousness at a single stroke and maintain oneself there. This change of consciousness is abrupt, so to say, when it occurs all of a sudden, although the preparation for it may have been long and slow. I'm not speaking here of a mere change in mental outlook, but of a change in the consciousness itself. It is a complete and absolute change, a revolution in the basic poise. The movement is like turning a ball inside out. To the transformed consciousness, everything appears not only new and different, but almost the reverse of what it seemed to the ordinary consciousness. So basically what I'm trying to point out is that the inner transformation is something which is obviously, like, it's a big point. It's like a complete reversal of consciousness. It's not something which is just a, like your mental outlook is different from what you had previously, and your whole mentality is different, how you look at things. And this is what the mother talks about later on when she says, there is a partial change of consciousness which makes you lose all interest in things that you once found desirable. But it is a change of consciousness and not what we call the transformation. For the transformation is fundamental and absolute. It is not merely a change, but a reversal of consciousness. The being turns inside out, as it were, and takes a completely different position. In this reversed consciousness, the being stands above life and things and deals with them from there. It is at the center of everything and directs its action outwards from there. Whereas in the ordinary consciousness, the being stands outside and below. From outside, it strives to reach the center. From below, crushed by the weight of its own ignorance and blindness, it struggles desperately to rise above them. So this is something that I just wanted to point out, that before we talk about the resistance and anything to do with external transformation, although I do understand that that is going on in parallel, and that is something, obviously, like whenever there is any kind of inner change, I mean, even if there is some kind of partial transformation, there will obviously be some effect that will get reflected or reflected in the external being, in the lower being, in the physical being. But at the same time, the inner transformation, not just the change of consciousness, is a complete reversal of consciousness, which is something like the mother says, like standing above life and above mind. So yeah, that's just something that I wanted to point out.
Thank you for bringing it forth, Arpit. Thank you. Claudia, you want to ask something, share something? You raised your hand.
Yes, I have this question. I have a struggle with this now that, I mean, everybody speak about the transformation and also traveling and things. I mean, I have been traveling a lot and I have been sharing time with a lot of different cultures. And at the same time, when I'm now in my country, they think that I'm not Mexican, and I feel like very strange. But my question is like, how do we to have empathy towards the ignorance, because I mean, Mexicans have a lot of traditions and a lot of things that you say, oh, okay, I will have empathy and I will buy this for them, because if not, you isolate completely from the culture and you're isolated and they see you like a stranger and that fighter, a kind of very weird person. And then I don't know, I mean, it's not that it's really super important to be inside of the society, but at the same time, it's important not to be like rude or kind of like this. So I have this struggle because when you are kind of growing in consciousness and you are like, you don't make so much noise or you don't buy the same food or you don't do the same things, people become to see you like a stranger, and then you are like so weird in your own country, or so then it's like you don't have empathy towards them. I don't know, it's just like very confused. So I don't know if you
So what you are asking, just rephrasing what you are asking, you are sharing that if I am growing in consciousness uh, and I see people in ignorance, how to have empathy? Is that the question?
yeah, kind of yeah, my someone say to me, you don't have to have empathy towards ignorance. No, never.
Okay.
But I say, well, I don't know, I mean, it's something that I am struggling, every day, because when you are surrounded by this, I don't know.
But I have also a question back to you here again, but because before talking about, so we are leaving transformation aside for a while and just looking at your question, because I feel that if there is a growth in consciousness, would not it mean that I'm able to transcend the judgmental, logical, categorical sense mind? Because if I'm still judging and I continue to judge based on, oh, this person higher growth of consciousness, that one lower growth of consciousness, this same as mine, isn't that the same logical, limited sense mind in operation. And by the very, definition of it, if I can use the word definition, wouldn't growth of consciousness mean transcending the categorical mind? Because this is our problem, that we are always categorizing. The normal sense mind, the categorical mind, even on the spiritual path, all it does it is, the moment we are talking with each other, interacting, oh, this one is higher on a spiritual plane than me, and I am lower. And then you meet another person, then you again judge, and that one is a bit higher, and here I am lower. I am higher, he is lower. So if we continue this judging and not notice this judging, then I'm asking that, is there any change of consciousness at all? Because the idea is to transcend this judgmental mind. Because as Mother says in the 11 points in the journey towards the psychic, in fact, uh, on education only, I think in the Science of Living, Mother talks about these 11 points. The first point, Mother says, the mind is not capable of judging these things, spiritual things. So that is the first. Even when we talk about Buddhist teachings, since we take them up and reflect over them, don't we come to this point again and again, that this, we have to not stick to our judgments. We can't be sure that what I am thinking, that, oh, that person has ignorance, I don't have ignorance. How can you be sure that that is true?
Okay, I am agree with you that we cannot stick to the judgment, but we have to judge. If we don't judge, we don't have.
You mean discern? So there is a difference between judgment and discernment.
Okay, discernment. Yes. Yes.
Right? So in judgment there is always a basis of superior and inferior. But in discernment, what do? I know that, oh, discernment would be like, you have a plate full of food and okay, this food suits me, this does not suit me, so I'm going to have this but not this one. This is discernment, intelligence. But judgment is, you're always categorizing who is superior, who is inferior, good, bad.
Okay, I didn't know the difference between
Yeah,
that
yeah.
word. Okay.
Yes, yes,
Okay, thank you.
yes. So,
So,
yes, please go ahead, please. Yeah.
mm, yeah, no, I just lost it. Sorry.
Yeah. So I think here we have to be really very careful, because it happens many a times that maybe now we begin to like reading books and like to have our quiet time, and even then it may be a good thing, having quiet time, reading books, good time, very good thing to inculcate in life. But the thing is, the ego consciousness, the categorical consciousness, it sticks on to this also, and it says, see, I am someone, better and elite than others. See, I am reading this Sri Aurobindo and the others are not reading Sri Aurobindo. So we have to be very careful of this stickiness of the categorical mind. And that's why Mother talks about vigilance. That's why I think Arpit was sharing that talking about physical consciousness, of course, comes later. First, Mother also says that talk about purity of thoughts, talk about purity in feelings, look at yourself. So I think this is also would go into the category of looking at myself, that the moment I look at others, what is going on in my head? And why do I go there again and again? Because I don't know, I can't judge. And hence the mind comes back in the body with the name of Mother or the breath, and not lost and believing in the forest of thought. Because I cannot be sure that what I am judging is true. So we can leave those judgments at the side. Don't buy into them so tightly. And then the mind is rested. And then whoever you are interacting with, you can have a really a grounded interaction, not thinking that you are something superior or the other is something inferior, and has more ignorance than me. Because this can be really very troublesome, like a big obstacle, I feel. Yeah.
So can I just say something
Of course,
about
yes.
that? What Claudia was saying. So like this is something that somebody else has also brought up to the mother once, and they were basically saying that, you know, how like the community and the people in the ashram or Auroville, they just weren't really in line with them. And so basically what was happening was that like mother said that you're not here to satisfy anybody else. So whoever the other person is, these human beings are, it doesn't matter what how you look like to them, what they think of you. All those things are something that obviously you have to put away. It doesn't matter if you look like somebody who's like lost it or whatever, you know, like, because at the end of the day, it's about the divine. It's the divine will that you follow, instead of like, okay, if I, you know, if I do this, then I don't look good to my friends and my family, and my society thinks that I'm some kind of an outsider, and all those things. I feel that mother has clarified that we are not here to be bothered about what other people think about us at all.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, any additions, anyone? Any more reflections on this? So maybe we can take up, I started from in the middle and took the last half. Maybe we can take the first half again. So would anyone want to just read the first bit for us? The first half of this paragraph. Yeah.
Yeah, I can read.
Yeah.
Okay. You mean on one side, na? Wahan se, right? Till where?
Yes, from on one side till the ordinary life. Just that towards the end of this page number 18.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. On one side, the action of the forces of yoga hastens the movement of transformation of the being in those parts that are ready to receive and respond to the power that is at work upon it. Yoga in this way saves time. The whole world is in a process of progressive transformation. If you take up the discipline of yoga, you speed up in yourself this process. The work that would require years in the ordinary course can be done by yoga in a few days and even in a few hours. But it is your inner consciousness that obeys this accelerating impulse. For the higher parts of your being, readily follow the swift and concentrated movements of yoga and lend themselves more easily to the continuous adjustment and adaptation that it necessitates. The body, on the other hand, is ordinarily dense, inert, and where am I? Yeah, apathetic. And if you have in this part something that is not responsive, if there is a resistance here, the reason is that the body is incapable of moving as quickly as the rest of the being. It must take time, it must walk at its own pace as it does in ordinary life.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, any reflections here?
So, today I was in a similar state of mind, and I'm so surprised that we're reading that only. So, it's beautiful, really.
Yeah. So this part, here Mother shares that it is your inner consciousness that obeys this accelerating impulse towards purification, transformation. For the higher parts of your being, referring to the, including the mind and the vital, the thoughts and feelings, they are they happy many a times, relatively, again, relatively speaking, not that vital does not have its own issues and mind does not have its own rigid ideas, but relatively, with respect to the body, the higher parts of your being, referring to the mental and vital parts, they are readily follow the swift and concentrated movement of yoga and lend themselves more easily to the continuous adjustment and adaptation that it necessitates. So I just, something by the mother, I'm just going to rephrase, not going to read it all aloud. Mother shares that don't try to be an angel in the body if you're already not an angel in thoughts and feelings. And she has again and again clarified the importance of purified thoughts and feelings, purity in thoughts and feelings. Now, one may wonder, how do I know whether my thoughts are purified or feelings are purified? One can ask, what do you mean by this purification? And I think if we only turn within and keep bringing the mind, our attention back to the thoughts and feelings and in the body, there would be no need to ask this question, because we would know which feeling is impure, which feeling is pure, which feeling or thought has manipulative agenda and which does not have a manipulative agenda. So that's what I was sharing with Claudia, that there is a difference between judgment and discerning, because inside, this presence of consciousness that we have, it is automatically discerning, it has its intelligence. We know which thought is worth following, which pattern is worth following, and which one is not worth following. And it's only when we are absent, we are lost in the forest of thought, that we have no clue which thoughts I am harboring, whether they are purified thoughts or thoughts of ill will, hatred, blame, victimization, and all that, which is a poison for the being. So I think all that we need is to turn our attention to ourselves, as Mother says again and again, become conscious of all the ripples in the being, if we want to purify our own self. Yeah.
Can you please amplify on that angel in body and angel in mind thing?
So I can actually just read it out for you. Maybe it'll, just a second. Yeah. Okay, I'll just read it from the Mother herself. Mother says, but if one wishes to pass from this ordinary life to a higher one, the problems begin to become interesting. And if, after having come to a higher life, one tries to prepare oneself for the transformation, then it becomes very important. So here she was talking of changing towards sattvic food to someone, and she was sharing that it's not necessary for everyone. It can make people weak if we change at a wrong time. So first, the process has to start from thought and feeling purification, and then the body becomes ready for the change of food. That's what she was sharing here. I'll just continue. She's saying that there are certainly the foods which help the body to become subtle, and others which keep it in the state of animality. But it is only at the particular time that it becomes very important, not before. And before reaching that moment, there are many other things to do. Certainly, it is better to purify one's mind and purify one's vital before thinking of purify one's body. For even if you take all possible precautions and live physically taking care not to absorb anything except what will help the body make subtle, if your mind and vital remain in the state of desire, so thoughts and feelings, emotions, if they remain in the state of desire, inconscience, darkness, passion, and all the rest, so basically everything that disturbs our being, then the rest will not be of use at all. Rest means the change of food. Only your body will become weak, dislocated from the inner life, and one fine day it will fall ill. So, Mother says, one must begin from inside. And then she says, one must begin from above. First, purify the higher, which we were talking right now in this paragraph, mental and the vital, and then purify the lower, which is the body consciousness. And I am not saying that one must indulge in all sorts of degrading things in the body. So we can't take this as a mean of, oh, Mother is saying just eat everything, don't bother about what you eat. Not like that. This is not what I am telling you. Don't take it as an advice not to exercise control over your desires. But what I mean is to do not try to be an angel in the body if you are not already just a little of an angel in your mind and vital, for that would dislocate you in a different way from the usual one. So, yeah, I hope it's clearer now. Sham, much better? Do you understand?
Makes sense. Thank
Yeah,
you.
yeah, yeah.
Thank you.
Great. Okay, so any last reflections, comments, anyone on this one that we were going through? So I think the rest of the bit we will take next time. Otherwise, it will be rushed and not a good idea to just be rushed. So if there are any last reflections on the paragraph that we read, happy to take them. Anyone? Okay, so I'm assuming nothing at this moment. And in that case, thank you for joining in and wishing happy practice to everyone. Thank you. Thank you, Claudia. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you, Mankan.
Thanks.
Thank you. Bye bye.